Hey y'all, my name's Christy and welcome to technically episode 1 of an experiment in sustainability. It's an experiment for me because I don't know if I can sustain running a YouTube channel. I'm just like you, many of you anyway. I work full time in my off hours, 40, 50 hours a week. I'm a teacher, but I love my family. I love good food, and I love to feed my family good food. So here we are. I have a heart to serve, and my Nana always said, if you don't know how to love someone, start by feeding them. Well, I can't feed everybody, but what I can do is help give you the tools to feed your families in case you don't know how. Good food, good prep, and let's see together if we can sustain meal prep for our families. Every single Sunday, I try to do a little bit of meal prep. I subscribe to the Passionate Penny Pincher. Say that 3 times fast. Passionate Penny Pincher. There are a bunch of PDF recipes. They even include shopping lists. Then I log into my local store, make my online cart for most of my dry goods. And most of my dairy, they come from that store and that cart. For my meat and my fresh veggies, I go to my local store. I also use my local store for things when I run out. So while my coffee may be cheaper at this other store, I support local when I can, and especially with meat and veggies. Now we're getting off topic. So I sell Pampered Chef. Pretty new at that, but I'm not actually new. 17 years ago, my kitchen would have come into your home in person. Now here we are on YouTube with the invention of technology all together again. Some of you I know, some of you I don't know yet, but that's okay. Every week we're going to be exploring new recipes, either from our meal plan or from my half-written cookbook that contains family recipes and some of the stories that go along with those. As you can see, I'm halfway through meal prep right now. Today, I'm meal prepping chili. Tonight we're going to have chili, but then I'm making a double batch. I'm gonna turn around and use half that chili in a little recipe we like to call Dorito casserole. Stay tuned for that because that'll be a different episode. Once the chili's done, we'll film it. Except we don't film anymore because I'm old. We'll take a video. As you can see, there are no edits. I have a pretty good idea of what I wanna say, but I don't have the time or energy to edit. So what you get is what you get. If you have grace for that, welcome. Before we get started, let's talk basic kitchen layout. I don't know where you're all coming from. The point of today's video is to show you one way to cut an onion. So I have a knife. You can use just about any size knife, whatever you're comfortable with. I have a regular, just kind of cutting knife, smooth edge, pretty sharp. And then I have my big knife. I actually prefer the weight of my big knife, especially when I'm dealing with slippery onion skins. So we're gonna be using this, although it may be overkill. Another thing to know is that I sharpen my knives at home. I have a Whetstone knife sharpening kit. I also keep in my drawer this handy dandy Pampered Chef knife sharpening blade. It's got settings for smooth edges and settings for blades and scissors, which are at a more angled cut. So 2 different ends. Today, before we get started, we're gonna go ahead and run our knife through the sharpener, just like this. And because I was raised right, we're also going to, excuse the sound, smooth out the edges on my little honing tool. So, you might be able to hear the sizzle. In my crock pot next to me, it's actually a multi-cooker, but in my crock pot next to me, I've got it on the saute setting. That's because anytime I do slow cooking, I actually saute the onions first to build up the flavor. And then I add the meats and make sure that those are sauteed and a little bit caramelized, and then I go from there. If you're in a hurry, shove it all in. It's okay. But if you have the time, like you're meal prepping, you won't regret it if you put a little bit of time into building your flavor layer by layer. It really does work. So with the onion, I sliced just an onion, here roots, top, down the middle, until I got half a globe here. See, there's the roots, all in one. And then I sliced and I split it so that both ends are sharing the roots. Same with the top. Now, one thing I like to do is I don't take the peels completely off. If I can, I try to make them because it gives me a little something extra to hold on to. You don't always have that luxury, but it sure does help when you do. The other thing to know about this onion is that on the inside, it looks like a rainbow. You'll see all of these little pieces. You want to cut with that rainbow facing out. So when you set it on your board, that rainbow should be facing anyone else looking at it, not on the bottom of the board. The other thing to know is the first time you get like a whole actual little real rainbow thing, that's where you want to place a horizontal cut. That's done by just taking your knife and putting it in just like that and cutting through until you almost get to that end. See, little chunks of that are slipping out. That's okay. Then you're going to take your knife, which we never try to put our finger here. It's just very inefficient. Take your knife by the hilt, brace your onions, tuck your fingers in. Your fingers will thank you. Tuck your fingers in and make little vertical cuts all the way down to that horizontal cut. Here's what you need to know about those little vertical cuts. If your onion falls apart, that's okay. Shove it back in there as best you can. If not, you can slice it up later. Here's what you want to know about those vertical cuts. How close you put them together is how small your pieces are going to be. So, holding my onion with my closed fingers, and I'm going to just start chopping. As you can see, I was already struggling with the middle of that onion. And indeed, it did fall out just as I started to chop. Tucking in my fingers, I'm going to brace both sides. Do one quick cut through that. It's okay. All of my pieces are nice and uniform. Check this out. 2 different sample sizes. Nice and uniform. That's okay. They roll all over. If you have pieces like this where you've cut halfway through, no worries. Just finish the cut. Try to get them so they're all the same size. In a slow cooker dish, like what this is going to be eventually, it's not as big of a deal. But if you're sauteing and this is going on something where the texture matters, you really do want it all to be the same size. So the more you practice, the better you get. Don't beat yourself up if you're not like a TV chef. Those guys, they were sous chefs for years and years and years before they ever got as fast as they were. You'll even see some of your friends in their homes. They might be very fast with chopping. My Nana was fast. Don't beat yourself up. Just one step at a time, one day at a time. Just like this whole food prep sustainability thing. Now, in the coming weeks, once a week, I'll be posting a video. My videos will cover parts of food prep, different recipes, and accessibility. Some folks have trouble reading, trouble with motor skills, trouble remembering, trouble navigating the kitchen. Let's break down some of those barriers. I told you I was a teacher, right? So once in a while, I'll be joined by my daughter, who does share some of those struggles, and sometimes I'll be joined by various members of my family, and they can outline what they do to make sure that the kitchen stays accessible to them. The other thing you should know, why I'm not crying right now on camera, is that before we got started, I rubbed some essential oil under my nose. It doesn't matter really what, as long as you enjoy it. So what's living under my nose right now? Wild orange. Onions are one of those things where both the taste and the smell can trigger tears. That's actually a genetic trait. Did you know that? It happens to everybody, but the severity and the quick, like how quick it happens, that's actually genetic. No worries. Sometimes I look like I'm having a rough day, but I've just been chopping onions. Sometimes I'm having a rough day, and I tell everybody I chopped onions. No one's gonna tell if you do that too. So, I would love if you could please like my video, click subscribe, and you'll get a new weekly video with very genuine, unedited videos. And eventually in the descriptions box, you'll see my Pampered Chef Consultant link. In this day and age, I do a lot of online parties. There's no need to travel. When I can, I'll showcase the products that I get as much as possible so you can see how they work. For now, I'm gonna get back to this meal prep, and I thank you for joining me. Bye.